And now it's just like, man, you got to have that time where you just like disconnect from the scene, just the race. Like, and it's a race that I've created in my head, you know? But you have to step away from it.
I smoke too much, I drink too much. I tell myself that I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. That I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. Clearly now. Clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. I smoke too much, I drink too much. I tell myself that I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now.
Good evening, guys. Welcome to the Progressive Wax Apps meetup at freelancer.com. We will be starting in just over 4 minutes.
That I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now. I can't stop. We could see clearly now. We could see clearly now.
Hi, good evening to everyone, and welcome to our first ever meetup that we named as the State of Progressive Web Apps 2020. So, welcome. This event is a really planned event from months ago, as we really wanted to see what we can build with progressive web apps so that you as developers can start building one. So, yeah. But first, I'm going to introduce to you our community, which is PWA Pilipinas. So basically, we are the group for progressive web apps, designers, developers, and enthusiasts here in the Philippines. Our mission is to have meetups and encourage Filipino companies and developers to create and build their progressive web apps. Our vision is to introduce progressive web apps here in the Philippines and beyond. Well, we made this community as, if you're going to look at this chart, that almost all of the countries everywhere have their representatives. But if you're going to check here, we don't have any. That's why it has been our inspiration in pushing forward this really great platform. So let's not make things long. Um, we're going to introduce our first speaker for tonight. He is a software engineer at Finastra. He is also a core member at the Google Developers Group. And he will be discussing about the brief history of the web and progressive web apps. So without further ado, let's give a round of applause to our first speaker for tonight, Stephen John B. Raimundo.
Hello, good evening. Thank you very much for giving time to attend this meetup. I'm going to share to you a brief history of the web and progressive web apps. So I should be the one there because I'll be reading notes. Okay, so the web that we see today is very different from what it is before. In fact, the web itself is very progressive. Like in the early 90s, the web is considered as read-only or static, where it offers similarly to what you see on product ads, brochures, and newspapers. So it wasn't really interactive that time. But still, static web pages today are still very relevant and useful. But during that time, who would thought that just a few years, the web will allow us to connect to other people. And then we have the social read-write web. We became the participants of the web. We had blogs, social media, content sharing, and we have connected in more ways than ever before. And also, Ajax was also invented by that time, which allowed greater interactivity on various websites without, where it only updates a part of a web page when it needs to load content instead of loading the whole web page. And then we had the semantic read, write, execute web, where we have fully utilized the power of the web to use the power of the cloud on our web applications and infrastructures. We do not just read and write data like before, but we can also execute and process huge amounts of data. And different applications connect to each other through APIs, web services. And then we also have the mobile web. It's not a successor to the previous one, but somehow occurring simultaneously with the semantic web. It's because most websites, if not all, they have been prioritizing mobile users or treating them as first-class citizens. Like, they're making sure that a mobile user has full access to all the services instead of just providing a light version. In fact, other websites or other mobile sites offer more features than when it was accessed on a desktop. For example, Instagram. On the desktop website of Instagram, you can browse photos, comment, like, but you cannot upload photos. But using the mobile website of Instagram, from there, you have the ability to upload photos. And also, new concepts on the mobile web are introduced, like accelerated mobile pages, SPAs, single page applications, and progressive web apps. And then this is the next era of the web, with the rise of AI-powered services, chatbots, digital assistants, sooner or later the web will be fully utilized as an intelligent platform. So here's a summary of the features being added as time goes by. It has changed a lot over the years, and it is really growing. The possibilities are endless. We can't imagine what would be the next offerings the web could be, but the fact is, it is really growing, and many people believe on the capability of the web. And there have been attempts to standardize the web technology to use it and integrate it into different platforms. Like when the iPhone was launched in 2007, Steve Jobs envisioned that the standard for developing iPhone applications should be in HTML5. That way, development will be much easier. There are no heavy build processes, no SDKs needed, just basic knowledge of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You're able to deploy or develop your iPhone apps. But unfortunately, it did not push through in favor of the App Store. Also, Firefox attempts to make a web-based mobile operating system where all applications will run as web apps. So imagine how fast and lightweight these apps would be. You may not need to add extra gigabytes of memory or storage just for you to be able to install hundreds of apps. But its development also discontinued in 2016. You have heard of PhoneGap, right? It is a platform that allows you to create native apps using web technologies. And this one is fairly successful. Now every web developer can be a mobile app developer because of this. And it has a similar concept with Electron. Electron allows you to develop applications with multiple windows, menu bars, notifications, and everything a desktop application can provide, but also using web technologies. One notable product that is made of Electron is Visual Studio Code. And some of you might already know that Visual Studio Code is actually built with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then in 2015, Google Chrome engineers have coined the term progressive web apps to describe apps that are utilizing the latest web features and that is installable and instantly engageable. And Google has forefronted in advocating progressive web apps, especially on Android. And just a quick introduction for those who are not yet familiar with progressive web apps. A progressive web app is a website or a web app that behaves similarly to a desktop or mobile application. It aims to provide a seamless experience that the user is unable to tell the difference between a progressive web app and a native web app. So these are examples of Google for progressive web apps. These are actually websites, but who would notice? Progressive web app solves a lot of problems in the mobile web. And why should you consider developing a progressive web app? Imagine 60% of the world's population is still using 2G internet. And if your website loads slower than average, users will abandon it. How long is that wait? In just 3 seconds of loading, most of your users will abandon or cancel the loading of your website. How about if you want your if you're considering a native app because you want to provide a service that works offline, then you're most likely considering to develop a native using native solutions, right? But the problem is the average user installs less than one application in a month. And new applications on the App Store has very low reach because installing a native app is a huge commitment for our users. Now, progressive web apps help solve these problems. Why? It is fast. Instead of normal web pages waiting for the network to send and receive a response, progressive web apps immediately provides a response that is cached on your device. It is network independent. And you can make it work offline or provide a custom interface for your offline users. And progressive web apps are integrated and they are intended to behave like real native apps. They are accessible to the home screen. They can send push notifications much as an app does and access device functionalities and features. So this is the example of how you're able to install a progressive web app. And engaging, because you can remind your users to make them come back even if you have closed the application, because it works on the background. Progressive web apps deliver a native experience with the broad reach of the mobile web. So we have the benefits of the mobile web and the benefits of native apps in one. If you're considering to provide a platform for your users, this could be how usually you plan your decision. If you want it to run on any device, you'll consider implementing it on the web. You want it to be quick and easy to open and use. Unlike with apps, your users have to download and install it. So your service is not instantly accessible. But the benefits of apps is that it feels like it runs on its own. It has its own window. And most applications work fine offline. And you know that a mobile app has more powerful capabilities compared to a website. But with progressive web apps, you can run it on any device. It can be installed. It can be launched on the browser or through the launcher. It has its own window, works offline, integrates with the operating system. It has powerful capabilities, much like a native app does. So in 2015, it was officially termed progressive web apps. Then Apple added support finally for service workers in 2017. And then 2018, it was considered the year of progressive web apps, where it had been supported by many major browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edge, and even Windows. Windows allowed support for progressive web apps in Edge and Microsoft Store. Also, Project Fugu has been introduced, and Lighthouse, which is a tooling to inspect the performance and speed and different aspects of your progressive web app. And then in 2019, since progressive web apps can now be installed in Mac, it means progressive web apps are now available to all mobile and desktop platforms. And if you still want it to distribute in the Play Store, Android now allows you to build Android apps directly from your progressive web app site as a TWA, or Trusted Web Activity. So more and more features are likely arriving. So what is the future of progressive web apps? The next speakers will talk about it later. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Stephen, for that. Does anyone have question about the talk? Okay, none. Okay. One of our objectives for this meetup is to actually get the feedback from stakeholders, like developers and users like you. So later we'll be having, since we're just a small group right now, it's a really good thing because we're going to discuss the pain points that you have when, like, let's say you're considering in building your progressive web apps. You can tell it to us later if you have that, if you have suggestions, because we're going to collect those and I'm going to tell the browser vendors your pain points so that they could address it in the few months or years to come as they develop this great technology and platform. So while we wait for the second speaker, can we have someone from Freelancer to introduce? So first, we'd like to thank Freelancer.com for being our generous sponsor for this evening, as they provided a really great venue, a really fantastic live stream, and food later. So let's hear something from them first.
Hi guys, thank you all for attending this meetup. So I'm Dan, I'm from, Freelancer. I'm part of the people operations team, part of the talent team. So I'm a technical recruiter. So some of you guys know me already. But are you guys already familiar with Freelancer? Some of you. Yeah. Well, I know you guys are already familiar with us. So we are an online job marketplace. So we are connecting people to work together. So yeah, we are actually looking for software engineers at the moment. So we are hiring for mid to senior level software engineers. And if you guys are interested to apply, you may go directly to freelancer.com/careers to look for the job openings that we have. But if you guys have any question regarding opportunities that we have, we are here. Me, Abby, and Johnny could answer any of your questions regarding our opportunities with Freelancer. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that. So just in time, our speaker for our next speaker is already here. So on our previous talk, we've have taken a look at the history of the web. So basically, when we planned this meetup, we really want the topics to be progressive. So like we're going to look at the past, and now we're going to look at right now, what you could use to build your web apps. So with that, I'll be introducing our next speaker for this evening, okay? Which is, who is a software engineer at Amplify Technologies Incorporated. He will be discussing about Project Fugu. What's Project Fugu? and about the modern capabilities of the web. So let us give a round of applause to Mr. Richard Gonzalez. Sorry. Oh, Type C. So while our next speaker is still preparing his slide, for the people out there that are watching in our live stream, please, if you have questions, please do send us a tweet in our official Twitter account at PWA Pilipinas. So if you're on Facebook, you may post at our official Facebook group. We are really happy to answer your queries and other questions. Oh, okay. Okay, it's still restarting. So while that happens, let's interview our second speaker first. So, how long have you been trying out progressive web apps?
If I'm not mistaken, I think 3 or 5 years ago, Google had an event sa Polo Hotel. I don't know if anybody sa Polo Hotel. Nanalo ako nun, pre. Yung booklet. Anyway, that's the first time I actually got introduced to PWA. Kasi, well, all you need is a manifest. You can save it on your phone. We were trying it out on iPhone as well. I don't have an Android before, so yeah, that was the initial start. But if you want to go back to history, I don't know if you guys still know jQuery Mobile. So we tried it. So that was like 8 years ago. There was no alternative. The only way that you can actually get, kasi di ba, I think 8 years ago, that was the start when websites started to create M sites or mobile sites. And wala pa tayong notion ng media queries noon. So the only way around it is to use what's in there, which is jQuery Mobile, which is so fucking heavy. And you only have like, sorry, I'm used to meetups na very casual, sorry. So it's very heavy, jQuery Mobile is very heavy, so we try. Actually, I was part of a company before who tried it out. And we were trying to secure a big project in Australia. I think it was for one airline, yung may star. Anyway.
Okay, so who can relate to that experience? Anyone?
Medyo Jurassic na sa ano.
It's okay.
It's been a lot of years since I ever attended.
But that's the good thing about the web, no? We grew along with the web. Diba? I remember that those times before when we made our personal web pages, when we customized our Friendster profiles. Diba? It's really natural to us that we tend towards the web somehow because it has been a part of our lives. And we have this technology, diba? It feels so natural. So yeah. Any minute now. Okay. Oops, sorry. So while it's still preparing, I would also like to thank our community partners for this event, Developer Student Club of Loyola, the Ateneo, and the Developer Students Club of España. So, are you ready? Yeah. Okay, so we can now proceed to our next speaker. Once again, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Char Gonzalez of Amplify Technologies, Inc.
Hello, thank you. I don't know if I know anyone from the crowd, but I was part of the very old community meetups. We were the guys. I'm Richard Gonzalez. I'm a Ruby on Rails developer. So I've been doing Ruby for 2 decades now, I guess. So we started with Ruby on Rails like 1.2 or 1.3 when nobody was even using it. So I'm part of the Philippine Ruby users group. I am also part of the Philippine hackers group. I don't know if anyone is a member of PRUG. We have a Philippine hacker. It's not the bad hacker, the common notion. But when we say hacker, these are like hardware hackers, software or DevOps. So I guess I'm part of the old group who started to initiate meetups and started organizing communities. We also started, the dead Philippine JS group, the very first Philippine JS group. We started it when, I don't know if you guys been to JSConf Asia. JSConf Asia is always held in Singapore, and since there's a lot of participants from the Philippines, we tried to bring it to Manila. So the second JSConf Asia was held in Manila in Pasay. So I don't know if they're still doing it now, but it's been years. I'm also a hybrid mobile application developer. When I was, some people call us the full stack dev, but it's parang ang labo. So the reason why, if you can see, it's a Ruby on Rails developer and a hybrid mobile app developer. So I've been doing web applications and I'm also doing mobile applications. I was very fortunate enough that my former boss gave me all the freedom to choose the technology that I wanted. So I started with PWA was like, it was a very common notion. Nobody was interested about it before, technically. So there were a lot of JS framework that came about. Wala pa si React. I think na pumapalo na si React noon. But Angular was the very first. So I was in a verge of choosing between React and Angular JS, between Facebook and Google and whatever. Vue.js was not in the scene before. So it came to my analysis that I needed to use Angular JS, and I needed to create a mobile application for my company. So since I'm doing it alone, I'm the Ruby on Rails developer, I'm the iOS and the Android developer. I'm taking care of the API and the backend. And if somebody lost their email, they come to me or fix their printer. So I'm the one-man guy whom they just go through. So they never had a question on the technology that I choose. So that's the reason why I chose Ionic. Ionic, I'm part of the Ionic. I'm actually the one who initiated Ionic Philippines. I don't know if anybody here heard about Ionic. Ionic framework, you can now use React and Vue.js with it. So it's a hybrid mobile application development. I used Ionic way before they even became prime time. So I was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, I guess. So they gave me the privilege to add the Philippine map and create the Ionic Philippines group. It's a very silent group. Not a lot of people are interested. I don't have the time to manage it as well. So we just talk and question and ask. Somebody post a spam on it. I'm also one of the founder of Bicol IT. I'm a Bicolano. I'm from Legazpi City. So anybody here from Legazpi who wanted to join the group, the Bicol IT group is like a group of Bicolano IT professionals who wanted to do some changes with our province. The reason why we're here is because there's no opportunity back there. So we wanted to educate the students especially and probably bring some jobs in there to change something. in a little way. That's why we have the Bicol IT organization. I'm also one of the software engineers in Amplify Technologies Incorporated. We are into, now I'm a Ruby on Rails developer, mobile app developer. I also did the PWA for our company, and now I'm doing bots. So I'm so deep into Node.js and bots with, right now I'm taking care of the Facebook interface, Facebook Messenger, but we're branching into WhatsApp, Telegram, Line, and everything. So I guess that's the whole story, my role in Amplify. But I guess you guys have seen John Wick. John Wick 3, the bald guy, Zero, nang nilapitan siya, tapos binigyan siya ng piso na sobrang laki. Want you to kill John Wick. John Wick 3. Then Zero gave the girl parang sushi, sashimi. It's fugu. Fugu is like, I guess you guys are, since we're nerds, it's technically, we know what fugu is. It's from Japan. You need to master how to even slice it. You need to be a master to even handle it. Because you need to have, if I'm not mistaken, I think I've read this a few years ago, you need to have a license to actually create the dish, to even hold the fish and debone it and slice it. Why? Because it's poisonous, and if you make a very weird mistake, probably nabahin kang bigla at na-slice mo, you slice through a specific vein, you might kill your client. So, fugu is, I haven't tasted it, I haven't been to Japan. We've been planning, but dumating yung coronavirus. So, fall back, get out. So, wag muna. But from the reviews and from the YouTube videos that I've seen, they say it's delicious. But of course, it's that fear of baka mamatay ako pag kinain ko to. So, the Project Fugu is exactly just that. If you prepare it correctly, it's delicious. But take note of how you prepare it, because you might just kill someone. Well, in technology, of course, there are other stuff that are in store. It's like the security, the privacy of your client, of your user. Those are at stake. So Project Fugu is the main mission is to close the capabilities gap. The capabilities gap is, I guess all of you have been using your mobile phones. And if you've known PWA, I think meron ngayong difference na makikita. Like, there's a lot of things PWA can't do that the native apps can't do. Like, for example, I built the PWA for our company, and I was at the verge of giving up because the QR scanner just works on Android. No problem at all. Walang problema, suwabing-suwabe. You scan it, you got the code. Pero pag ginamit mo sa iOS, you have a problem. Because you will open a new window just to launch the user media, which is kind of ironic because if I could trace back, way back, si Apple ang may pasimula ng PWA. It was not Google, it was not anybody else, it was Apple who initiated the notion of PWA. I guess it was like during the iPhone 3, when you can download the website and put it as a home. I don't know kung inabot nyo pa yung iPhone 3, but you can actually install it on your phone. So it's running offline and you don't want to go back to Safari just to open up the app or the website. Technically, it's a website. So the problem is the gap. We see that there are differences still with PWA. You wanted to close that. So parang these guys in Project Fugu wanted to realize that you don't need to be an iOS developer. You don't need to be an Android developer. Because all of the features that you're looking for, that you can build with Xcode and with Android Studio, are here now on the web. That's the gap that they wanted to bridge. Example, the contact picker. Say, for example, you created an app, and you wanted to get all of the contact list from your user's device. like what WhatsApp and Line and other communication apps do. It actually collects all of the contacts in your phone, and you will see na makita niya na, okay, si Dencio, nasa line na pala. You can connect with him now. Or if you're doing, ano pa ba yung isa, yung Violet? Viber? The same thing, the same process. You can't do that with PWA. You can't do that because walang access yung web sa contact list mo. So those are the gap. There's a lot of gap. Right now, the last time I checked, which is a few days ago, I think there's more than 100 items that Project Fugu is trying to reconsider. Now, they wanted to make the web as near to what native apps can do. So this is a cross-org program to bring the new powerful capabilities. This was initiated by Google, but Intel is also in the game, and Microsoft is also in the game. This is from the Project Chromium. So if you realize, now if you downloaded Microsoft Edge, if you go to the About, you will see that it's a Chromium project. So it's an open source project. You can actually go and build if you want it. You can contribute. So that's the reason why Microsoft is also in here. Intel is, so far, sila yung nakita kong pinaka-aggressive with this. If you go to YouTube, you can see the advocate, the evangelist nila. He goes all around the world. Nakita ko, nasa Sydney, nasa China. Ayos to. He's been proclaiming all of the things about Project Fugu and the capabilities that they're building. So it's a cross-org endeavor. So I just need to show this because this is part of the very thing that Fugu stands for. So the capabilities, but the bottom line is we need to maintain the user security, privacy, trust, and the other core tenets of the web. Of course, it needs to be, the UI should be good. If you wanted material design with it, so be it. But it needs to be secure, the privacy of the user are in there, and it should be trusted. That's the reason why all of the PWAs are running on HTTPS. You can't actually install any PWA if it's not running on HTTPS. Sorry. So that's the whole thing that they wanted. They wanted to bridge the gap between the native application features, bring it to the web, but preserve all of the security and the privacy and the trust from the users. So I don't know if you love history, but it's been part of our history. But if you read about W3C and everything, you would realize that they take a lot of time. It takes them a lot of time to even publish the CSS and everything. Even Angular, Google has their own way of doing it, and if you go to React, iba na naman. But in terms of launching these new capabilities, the Fugu group follows this design and how they need to be implemented. One is to identify the need. The first step is actually comes from us, from developers. Let's say, for example, nakita mo sa native app and you wanted it to be part of the PWA system. Take a look at the list. Maybe it's already there. Maybe the guys are working on it. If it's not there, you can create your own feature request. So any one of you, if you have a feature that you wanted in the web that you can see on native apps, you can make a request for it. So technically, they need to identify the need. Of course, you need to fill out a lot of, well, not really a lot of stuff. It's less like a couple of forms, just to essentially give them the idea of what you really wanted. Ganun lang. And they will write an explainer. An explainer is like the working document for the need that you identified. So they will be passing it on. So take note that Project Fugu is like a lot of companies are in it, and a lot of freelancers, a lot of developers are also contributing to it. They will publish the explainer, and everybody will get to join in and discuss it and probably revise it. And they will solicit the feedback from the users or whoever are developing. Within the writing the explainer and soliciting feedback, the code already happens here. Okay, so they will be discussing how do we do that in the code, how do we get the hardware specs for it, or if we need to dig deeper in the CPU, how do we do that? So they start creating codes for it during the writing, the explainer, and soliciting feedback. So they just go on iterating until they have a formal specification. The formal specification is now, it's like open beta. So nandun na siya, so makikita niyo there's an origin trial. You need to, if you wanted to use it, if you wanted to use the capability, you need to file an origin trial. So they will give you a token, you put it on your website just to tell Chromium, you can either download Canary if you wanted, because some of the new capabilities only works on Edge, on Canary, or on dev browsers. So take note, I guess right now, the latest Chrome version that everybody uses is 80, 82. But it's way ahead now. Si Canary, I think, nasa 83, 84 na. So they might have been doing all of these specs on 84, 85. So before you wanted to try it, you need to download the Canary version and file an origin trial for you to use the capability. That's actually trying to tell the browser that you knowingly are using this. So walang parang mistake na, oops, bigla akong nagamit eh. Yung parang biglang napindot. No, you need to do it. It needs to be loaded on your site. Then, if everybody's amended with it, how does the origin trial work? Right now, may nag-origin trial 1 na, may nag-origin trial 2. So, kung minsan may mga nakukuha pa rin silang feedback during the origin trials. And what they do actually is, I'll show you later. What they do is, pag nag-file ka ng origin trial, there's an expiry. I think 1 month lang yata binibigay eh. So after 1 month, you've been using the capabilities. Before you can ask for another token, you need to provide a feedback. So kung ano yung nagawa mo, or ano yung may mali ba sa design, etc., you need to give feedback. Now if everything's good, they ship it out. Everybody uses it. It will be on Chrome. It will be on Microsoft Edge. Hopefully, Safari will join in, and sana. This is the origin trials. It allows devs to try out the new features to give feedback, usability, practicality, and effectiveness to that specific feature. Now, there's also another thing. You can also use flags. So on the address, you just type Chrome /flags. I don't know if you've seen that interface before, but there's like a long list of all of the things that you need to enable. Be sure that you know what you're doing. So just look for the enable experimental web platform features, and it will be it. So some of the new capabilities are already shipped. All you needed to do was to enable it. Okay, so by default, it's disabled, just to keep you safe because of the security issues. Right now, the capabilities in flight are these 9 as of February 25, the last time I updated the presentation. In flight, meaning they're working on it. It's almost done, but they're working on it. It's either, it's not done yet, it's there, but it's not there yet. So, but they're working on it. So these are the top 9s that are on the list. There's like, sabi ko na nga, there's 100 of items in there, but this is the most things that a lot of people are waiting for. The badging API. The badging API, well, the hero is medyo kakaiba, but actually the badging API only works for desktop. So, say for example, let me launch my So when I was preparing for the talk, I was actually creating an app to showcase what's in there. So this is the contact picker page, but technically it doesn't work on the browser because you have contacts on your browser on your machine, but they only made it to work on your phone. So later on, I will demo to you how it works on your phones. But for badge, what happens is, say for example, I don't know if you've heard of Yuki Kaze. It's an anime, like it's one of the non-mech anime, like jet fighters fighting each other. Anyway, so this is a PWA. I created a PWA. I already installed it, and it's now here on my machine. If you can see, it's right here. Ito. So if I set a badge, Wala. Ayaw na. Dali. Uninstall ko kaya. Tigas ka, ha? Uninstall. So, yeah, that's one good thing about the install is already launched. I think I don't know if somebody discussed this already. I'm not covering it. Na-discuss na? Ah, okay. Yun, yung nakita nyong lumabas na install kanina, yung dun sa gilid, may makikita kayo dun na install tapos magko-collapse siya into a plus sign. That means if you see that, that means the site that you're visiting is a PWA. So you can click it, and it will ask if you wanted to install it, and you can install it on your desktop. So it should be there now. So actually, I am also tasked to create the dashboard of one of our applications. So it will be a PWA installable for both Microsoft and iOS. Unfortunately, it's not badging up. Ano nangyari? Set badge. Fail. Oh, anyway, so let's see if from my presentation I have other. Now the Yukikaze is the only demo that I have, but I think they still have one right here. So if you wanted a copy of the presentation, I already gave it to this good guy. You can grab it, and what I always do is I put notes on the presentation so you can follow along with whatever reference I used. So let me just turn it up. I mean, come on, whenever you go to a website and it asks you for, would you like to accept notifications from this website, who amongst you clicked yes or allow? Wala, di ba? Because it's annoying. Technically, it's annoying. I'm a developer, I wanted to use it, but I don't think anybody would. So that's the reason why they wanted to use badging. So silently, pumipitik na lang doon na mayroong isa, or yung kung kailangan mo mag-update, may lalabas 1, 2. So that's more subtle way of informing your user that there's an update for this app and you need to open it. Unlike flashing, if you're working on something, nagko-code ka, bigla na lang nagko-flash yung mga notification. I would usually turn them off, but yeah. So, sandali, hanapin natin. Eto, may demo si, tama ba? I think I'll also have this installed. Let's see if this works. So, yun yung Fugu sa ilalim. Change na nila naman yung code. Well, yeah, yung it works with Fugu. Kasi, nung ginawa ko, may fallback ako for Origin 1 and Origin 2. Hanip. Sandali, hanapin natin. Saan na ba yun? Pasensya na kayo ng terminal ko. Medyo ako lang nakakaintindi niya kung minsan. So, sa tab 1, tab 2, yan. Nakaset experimental pa siya. So either they updated it now in 2 days' time, because I was testing this in last 2 days, it worked. I said, okay, I'm done. But it's not working. So, yeah. Yeah, that's how the badging works. Whatever updates it is, yun yung problema actually dito. So, when you're working with the new capabilities, you need to be aware that this changes without you being informed. So, if it doesn't work, make sure na ma-check mo yung updates. Saan na ba tayo? Yun. So, eto na si Fugu. So if you clear, that's how easy it is. Just set the badge and clear the badge. Technically, very, very easy. But there's a lot of use case for it. Technically, that's the only use case that I could think of. I hate notifications. Just give me all of those badge and that's it. Good to go with that. So yeah, that's the badging. The contacts API right now is also in flight, and hopefully my other demo works kasi ginawan ko na rin to. Yuki. It needs to be running on, it needs to be installed. Okay. Oh, sorry. The contacts only works on your mobile app, on your mobile device. I don't know how you can connect this, but I had it on my phone. Pwede ba i-hook? Hindi. So this one, so I already installed it on my device. So I'll just allow it. So if you pick a contact, shows up your contact list. So just to be sure, this is the PWA. So I can launch it. And if you pick contact, it launches your contact list. Ang maganda nito, walang hold si PWA dito. Okay, take note that your PWA can't even interact with this interface. That's the reason why they wanted to preserve the security and the privacy of the user. Let's say, for example, you have an app. Tapos pag-launch ng contact picker, kinuha mo lahat ng contacts. So ayaw nila ng ganun. What will happen is, you will only give what you authorize it to give. Say, for example, you can pick only the email addresses, or you can include the phone, or only the phone without the email addresses, and you can select one, and click done. It takes some time to load, but it should. Come on, baby. Yun ang problema. Again, another problem. But as soon as, yun, lumabas na. Yun. Okay, that's the contact that I picked. So from here, you can either call the person, you can call it from the contact list. So once you select, you can select one contact or you can select multiple contacts. So it will be an array. So it's like an array of hash. So that's how the contact picker works. They embedded the security in it that the PWA doesn't have access to it. They just need to wait for the return. Para sa akin, it's good. Kasi if you give all of the control to your PWA, I don't know what other people can do with your contact list. Take note, if 50 people downloaded your app and suddenly you get like 10,000 contacts, you're good to go, di ba? So, yun yung maganda sa kanya. For me, I think this is a really good feature. I've been waiting for this as well, because this has a lot of implications for my app. Like, for example, we created an app and you earn like additional points if you invite people. The safest way to invite people is to launch your contact list. And whoever can you refer it to, then to somebody whom you already know. So that's the best solution that I could get. But I will only get whatever you give me. Okay, so the referral programs, contact information and everything. So that's the Contact Picker API. It only works on the phone right now. I don't know if they're considering of launching it for the for the mobile apps, for the desktop apps. But so far, for my end, it's a good to go, the feature. Um, Another one is the get installed related apps. I hope you can see, but the main reason why they created this get installed related app is, okay, you wanted to create a PWA, but you already have an Android team. Yung Android team mo, gumawa na ng Android app eh. Yung iOS team mo, gumawa na rin ng iOS app. At ikaw, gumawa ka rin ng PWA, ang yaman nyo. So, what you wanted is to communicate with those native apps. You can, the reason probably is to launch a better experience. I mean, let's be honest. PWA is there, but it's not really there yet. It's getting there, but not really there yet. If you compare it to the native app and PWA, I'd put all my money on the native app. But PWA is still getting there as well. So we don't want it to take away the feature na you can give a better experience for your user. Kung meron siyang Android app na naka-install, pwede mo i-launch. Pwede mo yun i-launch. I already downloaded a demo on my phone. Actually, the get installed demo app, I already installed it here. And, oops, saan ba yun? If you yan. So we would usually have lagi nyo may kita sa Fugu group, lagi siyang may glitch na website. But technically what happens is if you visit the PWA, you can use the get install related apps API, and it will detect if the Android app or the iOS app is installed on your phone already. Why? Because maybe there's a better experience on the phone, on the native app, then launch it. Which is better. Or you can either communicate by sending data to and fro from the PWA to the native app. Now, I don't know if you guys have used AutoCAD before. Way back, if you've used AutoCAD, you need to install it from a lot of CDs. And recently, AutoCAD, using WebAssembly, migrated their AutoCAD system to a web interface. So now the problem is, what if you wanted to open the file from your system and you wanted to save the file on your system? That's where the native file system API comes in. There's actually a very cool demo that they created. Yan, parang text editor. So actually, when I was watching the Google I/O, they were saying, I can't wait that the VS Code can be launched in the browser, and you can do everything on the browser already. That can actually happen. Because now with the file system API, you have access to your system files. And that breaks everything. So, pwede mo siyang i-save, like say, create a file, then save it. Then you can open another file from your system. Technically that easy. So that's the file system API in the works. So it's either a lot of things. You can use it for IDE, for code body. Paano ba yun? Kung nasa Brazil yung... Kasi before, when I was pair programming, I don't know if it's still a thing, the pair programming thing, but way before, when I was working for a US company, and I was the only Filipino developer, and all of the developers are Brazilians, we Skype, and we talk about what he's doing on his screen, and I talk about what I'm doing on my screen, which is very, very tedious. So if this thing could have been available, I guess the main options is there. So a lot of people are anticipating this feature. A lot of companies are actually anticipating this feature. It's almost done. So you can explore it if on one of your projects you wanted to use that kind of feature. The shape detection API, I think there's something wrong with this API right now because I can't seem to use it. So yeah, again, the trouble of using a Fugu new capability. Technically, the new shape API is, I don't know if you guys ever created a QR scanner for the web. If you don't, and if you did, I know it's a bunch of JS library that you can download from the net. Go to github.com and look for the highly starred QR code JS library and download it on your app and launch it. It works. That's what they wanted. You don't need to download those QR libraries anymore. That's the shape detection API. Aside from that, they went on more aggressive. They wanted to go with the face detection API as well. That's part of the shape detection, the face detection API, which is really aggressive. If you would ask me, I would just say, can you just launch the QR API na lang muna and create a new capability for the face detection API? Because sobrang hirap ng face detection. My girlfriend worked before with RCPI, and the problem that they had before is whenever an African tries to withdraw money from them, they need to secure a lot of IDs because technically lahat sila magkakamukha. Di ba? Even some of the Chinese, some of them really, you really need to get a lot of documents because baka mabigay mo sa iba eh. So with the shape detection, I guess, it's good, I guess. Personally, if you would ask me, there's a lot of face detection technology like what iOS and Android is doing right now. I have an Android and iharap ko lang sa mukha ko, it opens up my screen. I have an iOS, harap ko lang sa mukha ko, it opens up my screen. But those are embedded on chips. This one, they wanted to put it on the web. Can you imagine how crazy they are? I don't know, but I think it's a good feat if they can really launch it. I can't show you a demo because I've been working on it for a couple of days. I can't use anything. I think there's something wrong with the API right now, so we could probably wait. Another feature of this is OCR. Can you imagine? May scanner pa kayo noon, di ba? Yung OCR scanner. Tapos ipapasok mo yung papel, then i-detect niya yung text doon. With this one, hindi na. All you needed is your web app, mobile web app. Itapat mo doon sa mga document mo na gusto mong basahin. It will OCR that thing. Diba? It's like they're going against a lot of companies who've been building this kind of technologies. So really, napaka aggressive na approach. That's the shape detection API. Unfortunately, I don't really have a sample for this, but technically it scans QR codes. Before, when I think gumamit ako ng library to do the QR. The wake lock API, there's a demo for the wake lock API, but what will happen is it will preserve your screen. Like for example, ang lagi nilang dinidemo sa presentation is yung DVD na nagbabounce. That means your screen is asleep or your system is asleep. Now what if you wanted to process something? My wife loves to cook, so she has a lot of recipe apps that she follows. Now imagine if your phone closes every 5 minutes or 30 seconds. Tapos punong-puno na ng sebo yung kamay mo. Pakipindot nga. So it's a hassle. But for the wake lock, you can lock the screen na hindi siya mag-screen save. That's the main feature. That's how easy it is. Right now there's a screen lock. There's also a system lock. But they're working on the system lock. There are two options, the screen lock and the system lock. The system lock is going deeper into the CPU. This one is just for the screen. So that's yun yung nakikita kong feature. Kasi pag nagbe-bake ka, Tapos nanonood ako ng Netflix, tapos sisig, ay, nag-lock yung screen. Ayoko magugas ng kamay. Pakipindot. If you have a lock screen, problem solved. The content indexing API is technically for the offline services. So I think this is one of the best features of the PWA because of the service worker. Now the service worker is, what the content indexing API does is, if you have a PWA, aside from the manifest, we also have the service worker. You can launch the service worker. What you can do is you can actually pick which content you wanted to serve offline. So for example, you already created items. Halimbawa, abang libre pa yung Wi-Fi, download na. Tapos pag offline, pwede kang magbasa ng article. You can do that as well with this one. So that's technically what they wanted. With the native apps, ganun eh. So you download the apps, the content. If you go offline, you can still open it and read it. So we wanted to bridge that gap as well with PWA and the native. And that's the content indexing. When it comes to service worker, I guess it would take a whole day to discuss. But if somebody would discuss it to you guys, so you understand what the service worker does, it would be awesome. But that's touching the service worker as well. The periodic background sync is, di ba if you're using Facebook with your native app, then bigla na lang nagre-refresh, tapos may dumadagdag na mga content. If you're on Twitter, it suddenly just adds up content or tweets on it. We also wanted to do that. With the PWA, you can actually do a background sync and get data, get information. You can actually cherry pick the information and launch it, load it, without the user even knowing that you're syncing those information, getting information from your server and exposing it to the user. Application says, if you guys are developing stocks, stock exchange tracking, or if you're a trader and you wanted to create your own mobile app or PWA, while you're looking at it, it's been fetching information from different data stores and launch it, load it while it's just, you don't need to refresh or something. That's the periodic background sync API. Tapos, dumating yung mga two-step authentication, then the OTPs. What's annoying is if bibili ka sa Lazada, tapos lalabas yung OTP, tapos magte-text, di ba? Bubuksan mo yung message mo, 461262, 461262, 4612, ay puta mali. Open na naman. So, it's annoying. One, it's because people realize that there should be an easier way to do this. The easier way is the SMS receiver. When you launch the app, if an OTP comes in and if you requested for an OTP, you will see it. It will even supply the information to the OTP. Tama ba? Kasi ang iba dito yung settings sa US na demo here. So, lalabas yun. But it's not intrusive na it actually nakialam siya sa messages mo. No. Hindi siya nakialam sa messages mo. I know for a fact because I was following this because I have a very specific application for this. One is if your app has a two-stage authentication that you wanted to send an OTP to the user. So you don't want your user to open up their messages, then punch in the OTP again. It will load dun sa ibabaw. So may kita niya. Ang maganda kay iOS at kay Mac is because yung may messages kasi pag nag-text sa'yo sa gilid, copy na lang, paste tapos. But if you're on mobile, sobrang hassle. So nandun ako sa stage na pag nagbabayad ng bills, ang daming OTP na pumapasok. Saan na ba na-punch mo yung OTP na ginamit mo kanina, etc. So, hassle. There's an easier way. This is their solution, and I think this is really one good project. I'm personally following this. So if you guys have a specific feature or application in mind, try to follow this project. It might be open soon. Because they've been discussing this since last year. Last year pa to. So hopefully they launch it soon. So those are the things that they're working on. And these are the things that they already shipped, yung na-launch na. Available na sa Chrome, which is a proof of the Fugu project actually creating something. The Async Clipboard API. Now, if you're an old developer like me, I think nandun pa rin sa'yo na if ever you wanted to copy something to the clipboard, you need to create a flash. Alam niyo yung flash? Sino pa may alam ng flash na Adobe Flash? Kasi yung Adobe Flash noon, siya lang ang capable na mag-interact sa clipboard. Na pag may kinakopy ka, halimbawa, di ba sa GitHub or sa GitLab, kukunin mo yung siya, tapos i-deploy mo or something. So, dati noon, ang implementation namin, ano pa yun? Adobe Flash pa yun. Na pag clinic, kung ano man yung nandun sa ID na yon, ilalagay ko sa clipboard. Tapos copy-paste. Control-V ka na lang kung saan. Ngayon, kaya na pala dito, hindi ko alam to eh. Meron na pala. But now they made things even further. You can actually copy a PNG. So you can actually copy an image. Tingnan natin to. Nagulat ako nito eh. Salamat sa pagpapresent sa akin ng Fugu. May mga natutunan akong bago. Yun lang yung issue namin noon eh. Gagawa pa ba ako ng flash na maliit para lang i-copy yung clipboard. They prepared a very simple demo, but here's how it works. So from the web, you can either install it. Tapos makikita nyo, mayroong ibang nasa address bar may nakalagay na parang desktop tapos may maliit na. So that's meaning to say you can either install it on your desktop or your phone. So copy the Chrome logo, image copied. Punta tayo dito tapos Command V. Yan. So you can copy images. You can copy an image from a browser or somewhere else. If it's a PWA, of course. So, pwede yun. There's, actually, nung nakita ko siya, nagulat ako dun sa image, pero I'm more interested on the text. But they also have a demo here, how it works, the Async Clipboard API. So bago pa nangyari yung image, tapos na pala yung text, medyo behind na. But this is how it works. It's a short demo from them. Yan, laging lalabas yan. You need to allow it. So if ever it's accessing something, you need to allow it. Easy. Hindi mo na kailangan ng flash. Hey. The WebShare API, this is the one, magiging prangka ako ah. The WebShare API is a really good way of sharing things because you can actually launch. I don't know if you've used Santa Tracker before. Nung Pasko, tinatrack namin sa iPhone yan kung nasaan na si Santa. Nandun na sa Finland, nandun na sa Asia and everything. Eto. So, in the mobile phone, iba yung lalabas dyan. It's actually a sheet of options that you can use. Pinalitan na pala nila. But Let's open up the demo. Yung ganito. Ito yung lalabas. I personally created this, but to tell you the real world application and the comparison between native, because what we were doing is we were like the users can share a specific article that we provided and share it with their Facebook, Twitter, IG. Yung tatlo lang muna, Twitter, Facebook, and IG. If you're using it in a native app, you can post it directly. You can post directly to Facebook, tweet directly to Twitter, post it on IG. But with the web share, lalabas tong mga options na to. Sometimes you have to dig deeper. You have to look for the Facebook or the Twitter app for you to actually use it. But from my perspective, it's already enough. Well, one, the good and the bad is kailangan ng human interaction. Again, going back to the capabilities na sinasabi ni Project Fugu, we need it to be secure, we need it to be private, and we need trust. If you open the web share API, you don't want to create a web share feature na pag right-click nyo doon sa isang article, bigla na nang blinast sa mga social media mo. No. It can only happen if you explicitly share it with them. Ganun lang siya. So you can also use it now. I used it with our mobile app. Unfortunately, we already turned off the API for the mobile app because tinututukan namin ngayon yung bot. That's the web share API. Ganun lang siya kasimple. Usually what we do is, if you're sharing it on mobile, you need to, please take note that the URL for IG and Facebook and Twitter, if you're working on mobile, are different. Iba po yung web URL and iba yung mobile URL. So if you are, what I needed to do was to detect if the user is using a mobile phone and use the web URL, the mobile URL. If you're using the desktop, then you can use the web URL exclusively. Yun lang yung caveat niya. Kasi kung minsan, pag iba yung lumalabas kay Facebook and iba yung lumalabas kay Twitter, depending on the URL that you use. Yung web share target is pwede mong i-share doon sa other app. So let's say for example, you created a sharing app. Pumunta ka sa isang app or may photo ka sa phone mo and you want to share it directly to that specific app, you can do that now as well. There's a shared target na path. You need to create a shared target path for you to actually parang mag-accept ka lang ng incoming data from there. That's also available now. So this API, the web share API, the web share target API, and then the asynchronous clipboard API are already being used now on desktops, on Chrome and on Microsoft Edge. So what do we do next? If you're interested on the projects, you can check the API tracker. If you have a feature on your mind that you wanted to use for your company, for your personal project, or whatever it is that you see, you can file a feature request. Also, you can use the API from your end, and you can provide feedback. Giving feedback is the least that we could do to the organization, to the project itself. I've listed a lot of links and sources on the presentation for your references, and that's it. Tama, on time pa naman ako, no? Ayun. So if you have questions, ganun siya. Medyo sobrang ambitious. If you ask me, they're really ambitious. That's just the tip of the iceberg. If you go to YouTube and watch yung mga Intel guys, sobrang Bluetooth na ang pinag-iinteresan nila. Bluetooth, ports, LTP ports, the BLEs, NFCs, yung near field communication, they're working on that, gyroscope, accelerometer, lahat na siguro na hindi ko lang nilagay kasi baka malunod tayo sa sobrang dami. But there's really a lot, especially with the Intel guys. Sobrang hype sila pagdating sa ganong mga features. Yun, any questions? Violent reactions?
Hello. Yeah. Hi. Great presentation, by the way. So
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, as of the moment, this is just in the experimental phase, right? So, when are we looking into seeing this to be deployed in actual production project? Do we have some sort of timeline available?
That's actually what I'll be showing
Yeah.
you now. That's actually the timeline.
Okay.
So yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na these are all of the things that's on the list. That's a lot. That's really a lot. And very, very ambitious. Yung mga naka-italics parang hindi pa nila kinoconsider, hindi pa nila pinag-aaralan. But those are on the top that has a green on it. Those are the things that are in flight, that they're working on. And they have targets as well. So I think, right now we are on Chromium 80. Chromium 80. So yung mga naka-green dyan, that's already in there. So makikita nyo may green. It's a Fugu. May nakalagay pa doon na Fugu project. Yung may mga check that are on, those are the things that are already launched.
So they're ready, production capable already?
Yeah.
Okay.
These are already shipped. I did not discuss about the desktop PWAs. Those are yung pag-clinic mo doon sa taas. Yung dinemo ko kanina yung project Yukikase. The contacts API, makita mo may check na dyan. The WebShare Target version 2, may check na rin dyan. So, nandun siya. Sa presentation ko rin yung link if you wanted to track the API and see all of the things that they're working on. So, the plan is up until the end of this year. So, until Chrome 86. And we are on Chrome 80 by stable. I am using Canary, which is 82. Yung Canary, yun yung orange na kulay na browser. If you're into Edge, meron ding Canary Edge, meron ding Dev Edge. But of course, I hope you know what you're doing if you're using this. Sometimes it will freeze. It will not work. Because nasa development stage pa lang siya. So, yan sir yung timeline natin. As to, can they really hit it on the mark? Sometimes they might not, sometimes they won't. They might be accepting a quota for the number of feedbacks they get before they judge na, okay, this is good for prime time, let's launch it. Ganun.
Okay. Thank you. Ihagis ko.
Nung boss namin na Amerikano dati, mayroong football eh. Pag hindi ka tumingala, babatuhin ka ng football eh.
Okay. My question is about the UI aspect of PWAs.
Mhm.
Inabot mo ba yung Audio Galaxy na music player ba dati? Inabot mo ba yan? Do you remember that?
Parang yung, ano ba yun? Yung MP3 player ba yun, sir? Yung Llama?
Yeah. If you remember, when you downloaded that app on your desktop, what happens is it creates the interface na eksaktong size na mukha talaga siyang, right? Ganun lang siya kaliit. And so regardless of whatever screen size you had, ganun talaga
Ganun
siya
lang
kaliit.
talaga siya.
With PWAs, when you since you're designing for mobile, and then you open it, let's say, on a desktop or a laptop, does the UI, adapt? Or it's fixed like parang Audio Galaxy?
Usually, my personal approach, my professional approach on that is, sa Ionic kasi, I don't know with React, and I would give due regards. May mga designers dito I know, members ng PWDO and the CSS guys. Iba-iba kasi, sir. Usually what I do is, just to be on the safe side, I use a grid layout. Mayroong ibang mobile app designer who doesn't use a grid layout. They just use pag-list lang siya. So, kung ano yung size sa maliit na phone, mag-expand lang yon to the size sa malaking phone. But when you launch it to a desktop view, it actually fails. It looks bad because a long list on a desktop interface is quite annoying. So you need to settle down to a grid. So what I would usually do is, like for the sample for the project that I'll be working on, I did some UI and UX designs already. It will be on a grid. So para kahit nasa phone view siya, I just need to eliminate some materials or some assets out of it. But if you're on the mobile view, it will expand as well. As to the approach, it depends on the developer. So, but by notion, pag sinabi naming mobile app developer, these are technically just using mobile phones. Now, when we say desktop developers, these are the different breeds. So if you wanted to be conversant to those two disciplines, it's the grid that I would say the solution is. So implementation-wise, it depends on the people working on it. But PWA is generic. There's a lot of design interfaces in there. Material design, ANT-D, meron pa nga yung mga dark mode and etc. So there's really a lot. So that depends on the design team. Some design team create their own interface. If they really have a very good design team, they really create their own. So sila nagdidikta how it works. So the framework, yung core, which is the PWA, it's just like parang stepping stone lang. Whatever builds on top of it is in the control of the developers and the designers themselves.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. Any more questions? Ana? Ikaw, may question ka, sir? Okay. Salamat. Thank you. It's been a while talking in front of wala yung mga matatandang ka-jamming ko dati. But anyway, thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you, Sir Richard. So speaking of ports, as he said earlier about Bluetooth and ports, progressive web apps can also access USB ports. And one of the things that you could connect to a USB port is an Arduino device. So I'm going to promote that on March 21st, there would be an Arduino Day, and PWA Pilipinas is a community sponsor for that. If you're interested about IoT and more, please follow our official social network sites for more details on where it's going to be at and how to register. So, yeah. We'll be taking a short break, as many of you are already hungry, I think, or I feel, or yeah, you're hungry. So, to the live stream viewers, please stay tuned as the State of Progressive Web Apps 2020 would be right back. Thank you. Okay, so you may get pizzas at the back, and we have drinks. Yay.
I just want you. I just want you. The words I never said but wanted to. I'm losing you. I'm losing you. Oh, but these thoughts won't let you go. They keep running back to you. And I'm bleeding words. They escape me, the recoil. And I can't look the other way. I'm chasing starlight to find it's died away. Breathe it in.
Hi, may I request everyone to have to take their seats as we're going to start in a bit. Thank you.
And we won't always free fall back to nothing. 'Cause I'm just starting to learn. I've always been chasing.
Okay, welcome back. So, let's ask people in the audience what are their insights so far about progressive web apps. So, I'll try asking one. So, what's your name?
Fran.
So, what's your insight so far?
For me, PW. Oh.
Let's use discrete box.
Hello. All right. For me, PWA, based from the talk so far, it's getting there. I was quite surprised that there are certain APIs in the browser that can actually access native elements in the mobile, and I think it can be the future of how we do our development and just code once and then it's just available everywhere. And I think that can be a good future for development, basically.
if you were to build a PWA, do you have any reservations still?
Maybe my reservations is the complexity right now because obviously native still does a lot better than any hybrid apps out there, and the PWA as well, because if you're gonna create a scalable product for mobile, for example, you're not gonna choose PWA or hybrid yet, although that's very debatable right now. But that's my insights regarding the PWA, basically.
Okay, let's ask another one from this side. Okay. What are your insights so far about PWAs? Who wants to volunteer? I want this to be as interactive as possible for our audiences. So, hi. What's your name and what's your insights about PWA so far after hearing the talks earlier?
I'm Leia, and I think PWAs has a lot to offer, and I hope more features get to be developed in the future.
Okay. If you were to build, can I ask first? Are you a developer or a designer, or an enthusiast?
A developer.
Okay, so if you were to develop a PWA, do you have any reservations still?
Maybe the support, if it's stable enough for development.
Okay, thank you. For an easier question, have you tried using a PWA? Let's try asking them one by one. You first.
No, wala pa akong idea masyado sa PWA.
Have you tried registering to our event?
No.
Okay. Have you tried using twitter.com?
Yes.
Okay. That's okay. Next one.
Hello po.
Ano?
Ako po, may experience ko lang po is gusto lang po mag-dive deeper po kasi sa ginagamit po namin ngayon is React po.
Okay.
So, yun. May knowledge po ako mag-develop ng React. Pero gusto ko pong malaman kung ano po talaga yung features ni PWA po.
Okay.
Pwede ko pong implement. Yan po.
Okay. You too.
Ganun din ba yung sinabi niya? Gusto ko rin po mag-dive in sa...
Every recitation ever. Okay. So, let's proceed to the last talk. Which is my talk, I know. Okay. And I'll be discussing about the state and the future of progressive web apps as a platform. That's why we keep on reiterating as a platform, because there are already many front-end frameworks that discusses on how to make progressive web apps. We have Angular, we have React, we have Vue. So if you really wanted to learn deeper about these front-end technologies, we have them as well. But I guess we're going to have meetups with partnering with them in the future, so stay tuned with that. So let's look at the past year for progressive web apps. Oh, wait. First, let's have a retrospective on the word progressive. I mean, why do we even call PWAs or progressive web apps as progressive? I mean, why can't we just call them as web apps? First is, we define the word progress. So progress means to move forward or onward towards a certain destination. As the one who coined the term PWA said, Alex Russell, he said in the blog post explaining on why he named progressive web apps is that these apps aren't packaged and deployed through stores. They're just websites that took all the right vitamins. They keep the web's ask when you need it permission model and add in new capabilities like being top level in your task switcher, on your home screen, and in your notification tray. Users don't have to make a heavyweight choice up front, and don't implicitly sign up for something dangerous just by clicking on a link. Sites that want to send you notification or be on your home screen have to earn that right over time. As you use them more and more, they progressively become apps. Food for thought. That's why they are called progressive web apps. Because I'll tell you why. Because of progression. So I'm going to tell you like the steps of progressive web apps on why is it progressive. So first is that it's just a site that you open in your browser. It's in a tab. So it doesn't have that superpowers like being in your home screen immediately, but it already has those other features that you need already, like being responsive when you make it larger or smaller and stuff. So as you use it frequently, let's say that web app is important to you. Now that's the time when it tells you that, do you want to keep me? That's the only time that you have to decide. Then after that, when you really decided that you really want it, that's the only time that it could be at your home screen and blend along with your other used apps that you always see on your launcher. Yeah, and additionally, it also works offline, but it works offline from the very beginning. But because of that added feature, like there's no more tab, it's on your home screen, it feels more like an app, or the appiness of the web app. So that's what Alex Rasselad also said. That's why it's a progression. So for example, this is one of the projects I've built before. So this is Project Trend. Okay, so first, no, you discover your progressive web app. You just scan it and use it immediately as you wish. Okay, I'm gonna use it immediately. So from there, you use it the first time, then you find it valuable. It's like, okay, it's gonna help me daily in my commutes. That's when the time you can now add it to your home screen. You can install it. So that's what he refers to as the progression. That's why it's called as a progressive web app. So, yeah. So there you go. Let's say you installed it. So for the succeeding uses, it's already in your launcher. So when you open it, it feels like an app, not like a website that is on a tab. And it also has, like what they said, no, being able to be at a task switcher, for example. So the debate between hybrid versus progressive apps, like what Fran said earlier, like building hybrid apps. So with hybrid, we utilize web technologies to create app experiences. So like you're still using HTML, CSS, JavaScript to create app experiences. And the good thing about it is that it still can feel like an app because it's like packaged into what you typically know, what you download at the Play Store or the App Store. But one of its cons is that it loses one of the best qualities of the web, which is being able to link and being able to transparently see if the site is secure. And also, it's locked down on specific platforms. And also, your distribution platform is limited to what the vendors offer, like just on the Play Store and on the App Store. But with progressive apps, they just start as your typical websites or your web apps, but they turn as apps in the process. Kung parang, jowa muna bago kasal, ganun. Tingnan mo muna kung okay ba. Hindi pwedeng kasal agad, di ba? Tingnan mo muna, baka hindi okay, baka hindi mo gusto. Parang ganun, something like that. So, one of its pros is that no install requirement. parang walang masyadong commitment, ganun. And it's also accessible via the browser. But one of its cons though is that, yun nga, because some people are already well known the stores, diba? Like, say, just download it and it's already there. So yun nga, it's not there, but, and also, some vendors like Apple doesn't like the idea of this. But the good thing about this is that you could distribute it practically anywhere, just using the URL or the QR code. So some of the hybrid technologies that you know or may have heard of are here, like Adobe Air applications, your Windows Store apps, your Firefox OS when it was still alive, package apps, your Cordova or your PhoneGap apps, and Electron, and more. So hybrid development in the recent years. No, so the definition of that, of the PWA, was 5 years ago. So like as the year progresses, people are actually looking into what if we turn that PWA into a hybrid-like app. So there's kinda doing it. So some of the examples are like PWAs wrapped in hybrid tech, like Electron, Electron that has PWAs inside, or or like this one. If you ever get to download Twitter from the Microsoft Store, what you're getting is a PWA that is just wrapped on a Universal Windows Platform app. And also, another way is to use either WebView, if you're familiar with that, or you use a trusted web activity, which is a newer and safer approach in wrapping your PWAs into an app that you could distribute to the store. An example of this is the Google Maps Go, which is their lightweight counterpart to the regular Google Maps. There's like what I've said earlier, and just today, Instagram updated their Windows app. No, instead of using their old one, they're now using PWA. So if you ever get to update your Instagram app on your PC, it's a PWA. So now we're going to talk about the capability of PWAs. So aside from what was said earlier about Project Fugu APIs, one of the other APIs available is the payment request API, which is like an interface where the credit card info or other payment integrators are already provided by the browser instead of you creating forms for getting card details. So that's one of the capabilities that you could use today in your PWAs. And for other specific iOS updates for PWAs, you may scan this QR code. But basically, it's the same with Android, except that they are reluctant in adding some of the standards. Adoption of progressive web apps. So as I've shown you earlier, countries around the world have their, representatives. Like let's say in the US, we have Twitter, CNET. In Canada and stuff, we have Pinterest and Lyft. Here at, let's say, in other continents, we have Trivago and more, but none here in the Philippines. So this is not worrying, but rather this is an opportunity for you to explore. So you could take the leap and build PWAs. No? So in terms of the international, we have twitter.com, just like what I've said earlier. Like if I ask you if you're using twitter.com, so if you visit twitter.com, it works offline. You can install it. So if you don't want the heavy client, the heavy native client, no, you could just install this PWA and have a lighter alternative. And another is Instagram. It's like what I've said earlier, that it's a PWA. So if you don't want to install Instagram, you could install that instead. And also Tinder. Who uses Tinder? Oh. Okay, so if you're using Tinder and doesn't want to, install the heavy client, you could install this instead, and it performs as similar as that of the native counterpart. How about in the Philippines? No, as I've said, na parang wala pa representative, but actually there are some that that is starting to go towards the PWE route. One of which, let's start first with the academe, no? That I'm going to report that the academe is starting to gain interest with PWAs, as what they're thinking it as an important skill or a piece of technology that the student learn. As an example of this is that recently I was invited at Technological Institute of the Philippines, TIP, to deliver a talk about PWAs. So basically, the department head that told me that they want to equip their students with the skill, and he thinks that PWAs is just necessary in the coming years. No? So there. In industries, some of the examples are, first is the Click Shop by 7-Eleven, which I always promote, as they bet full on PWAs, meaning they do not have a native app counterpart, they just have a PWA. So the good thing about this is that I get to order online. It's like a normal e-commerce site, but when I'm offline and I go to the 7-Eleven store to claim my package, it still works offline, so I could show the code to claim it. So that's one of the feature that 7-Eleven leverages. And another one is Shop SM. If you want to try shopsm.com, you could try installing it, and it shows you like a splash screen, like we've got it all for you. So that's one of the examples in retail. And as I've mentioned, that I'm going to show you some fun examples. These are some of the personal projects that I've built. So we're going to demo it tonight. So the first is in transportation. The one I've said earlier is this one. So one of the pain points when you're using native apps for things like transportation is that when you wanted to get the information fast, installing apps is a friction. Meaning if it's a friction, it adds additional steps, meaning that it's going to waste your time just to do simple tasks. So since it's a pain point, it's an opportunity for progressive web apps, since you don't have to install anything. So that's what you could leverage. So one of the examples that I have here is Project Trend. So this is a train tracker for LRT. This is a project that came from our ideas before with Stephen when we joined hackathons. So basically, this is a train tracker for the LRT1. So let's say I'm going to ride let's say I'm a foreigner. I don't speak Tagalog. I don't know what to ask. Where is this station? And I just wanted to know, like, when should I get down the train, for example. So let's try utilizing this no install technology or this feature. So what I'm going to try is to install this. Let's say I'm going to ride the LRT now, and I see the QR code posted somewhere in there. Just go and scan this and open this. Okay, and from there, it's loading. see that I could already use the PWA instead of installing it. So this increases the possibility that a user would use your app because they don't have to install it. Okay, so let's try. Okay, wait. So let's say the nearest station here is, for example, EDSA. Then let's try going to Monumento, for example. It's a little bit slow. And here, the cool thing about PWAs is that we have different APIs available already. One of this is the geolocation API, and it could actually get your location real time. So it could track, let's zoom in so you could see. Okay. So it actually tracks your speed in real time. And also, one of the APIs said was the share something API. So I have it in here. So let's say I wanted to tell my friend or my Twitter followers where I am right now. So the only thing I have to do is, instead of taking a screenshot or something, I just have to tap share ride. Okay. And then a share sheet would show. Then from there, I could, let's try to tweet this one. Okay, there. And from there, I could already tell that I just wanted to let you know that I am at EDSA. So you may also track and share at which exact official LRT1 station you're nearby with Project 10. So from there, diba, it's fast. Okay. And that link, actually, I've used Firebase real-time database for that. So when a friend opens that, they could see in real time where I am. It's one of the cool things of this thing. Okay, let's proceed to the next example. Okay, so next are the food and beverage industry, or QSRs, or yung like fast food chains. So this is not for fast food chain, but this is also fast. No? So one of the example is Quick Eats. Let's say I wanted to order a food and I'm new to the area. I don't know where to buy and I don't have Food Panda installed. So we can leverage this by actually allowing your users to just scan, open this, okay, and it loads fast. Okay, your favorite meals delivered quick, and it's cute. It's a good thing we ate already. Okay, let's try signing in using our mobile number. Okay, so this uses Globe Labs for the SMS system. Don't text me later. Okay. There, I'm already registered. So while this happens, and I see that it already has value on, like, to my life, no? I could already install this in the background. And while that happens, I could already order. So let's try ordering one. So already knows where we're near using the geolocation API, as I've told earlier. So, okay, let's deliver here. So you could choose, okay, let's order. Okay. What do you want to order? Okay, let's get one. Okay. So let's order that. So like here is the rundown of your order, which is $250. So let's proceed to the payment. Okay, unfortunately. As I've told you earlier, there's a payment request API. So it's supposed to work, but on this demo it doesn't. But it should show a sheet below that you could put your credit card details, or if you have something stored, you could already tap pay. So you don't have to enter your credit card details every time you need to buy. So let's just try cash on delivery instead. And it's that fast. I didn't install anything. And yet, if ever I wanted to order again, I'll just open Quick Eats. Where is it? Did it install? It's still installing. But if ever it installs, you can just open it and order again. Okay. Let's proceed to the next one. Museums and galleries. So since it's the National Arts Month, I have built a demo. This was the demo I built for the previous meetup with PWTO or Puedo, but I'm going to show it to you again if you haven't seen it. So let's say we wanted to go to the what's this? National Museum of Fine Arts. So there's something I built that we could try out to discover the different art in there. So who wants to join me on this journey? Ikaw na lang. Okay. Scan. Scan mo. Okay. You scan. Okay. Pindutin mo yung press that. Okay. Okay, wait mo lang. And then you press explore. You will tell me what that art is. You tell them okay. Wait lang. You wait for that. So it's still loading. This uses machine learning to detect the art. So let's say example. Can you try pointing at that one? Okay. So it tells us what the details. Let's say it's an upright panel, intricately carved and highly decorated. Its wooden frame contains ledges and panels behind and above the altar. See, there's an info already. Can you try this one naman, though? Okay, there. This one naman is like the bust of Ricardo Canicero. So there. And the last one is, can you try this one? Wait. There you go. Can you try that? What's that? What art is that? Can you scan? Oh, there. It's the spoliarium. Can you try pressing learn more? Okay, there. And with that, it could show you rich information using PWAs and artificial intelligence. This one uses TensorFlow.js to process the information that it sees using the camera. So, thank you. How was it?
Ayos lang, magaling.
Stick ba? Okay, thank you. So you could build cool things with PWAs today. All right, okay. So opportunities for progressive web apps aside from those cool ideas. So to give you the value proposition on why building one. So it says there that the global PWA market is expected to reach a high number because emerging markets have low internet speeds. So it says in the article that with the rapid rise in the number of smartphone users, a significant amount of time is spent by users on apps. However, due to low internet speeds in developing countries, native apps aren't able to function smoothly. Progressive web apps take up very limited space and can run on low internet speeds as well as in offline mode. So these factors would drive global progressive web apps market exponentially. Media and entertainment represents the largest segment, largely due to lower loading time, just like what you've seen earlier with the museum PWA. So yeah. So also, why would you design one? Because PWAs run on these lesser capable phones and on super capable ones with different weird looking screens. So we have an API for this one, which is new, which is the Windows segment API. So you would know where to put your contents. Let's say you have your Surface Neo or Duo. You would know how many screens are there and where to put your content. So yeah. And also, as what Stephen said earlier, that on the average, user now installs just one native app per month or even less than that because of that high friction with installing them. Also, what you can target, since we don't have much PWAs, you could target these industries. Media and entertainment, travel and tourism, just like the museum, PWA, retail and e-commerce, just like that quick app, quick eats, real estate, also education and in healthcare, if you'd wish. So let's look at the PWA adoption growth. Okay. Yun nga, paulit-ulit. Because I really wanted soon enough that we'd have our representative or even more. So as PWA, yun nga, uulitin ko, I would repeat that to have meetups and provide, to encourage every company and developers to build PWAs, to explore them. Ayun. So some of our achievements, some of the partnerships. So here's what we're doing to help propel PWAs here in the country. We've launched partnerships like hackathons in NASA Space Apps Challenge, where we provided mentorship and help to those who want to build PWAs. So they're also in the DevFest to gain the attention of developers. There you go. Also in Home Credit, hackathon last November, where they were encouraged to build their PWAs and look at what is possible to build. And some of our milestones, we have our app. If you try registering, you have tried a progressive web app. That's why we're really trying to build our own so that you could appreciate PWAs. So thank you. Do you have questions about anything about PWA in general? So that we're ready.
If you were to start PWA, what recommended library, or I don't know, just pure JS, dependent on what you answer. So,
on
to
which
create your opinion
you're
to it.
most comfortable with. Kasi I've built that museum app, like it was just last week. I built it with jQuery. And yeah, it doesn't matter naman whatever makes you comfortable as a developer, because developer experience is still important. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
Walang no, there shouldn't be any friction on whatever technology or knowledge that
Okay,
you
we
have.
have seats here at the front.
Hindi siya So if you're using React, use React. If you're using AngularJS, use AngularJS. Vue, use Vue. Because PWAs just create a manifest and use the service worker, and that's it. Because the browser interface, or yung nav and the window, dun mo na hina-harness yung capabilities na yun. So regarding the JS framework that you wanted to use, there's no, yung demo na ginagawa ko kanina sa inyo, I created it using Ionic framework, using capacitor, and just added the PWA elements, and that's it. Tapos na siya. Because I'm well-versed with AngularJS, that's the one that I'm comfortable with. If you're good with jQuery, you can do it with native or vanilla JS.
Yes.
If you wanted. There's no, walang specification na it should run specifically on this.
In short, it's like framework agnostic. Any questions?
In terms of, let's say, for work you do for corporates, no? Assuming mga fintech, how would the architecture be any different from conventional systems versus nag-PWA sila?
Well, the technique that we could use is to progressively add that feature. For example, I have this cool system that I've built before. It's built with PHP. So the traditional systems you have before. So little by little, I've added progressive features So let's try looking at it. So this one before doesn't have any of that PWA features. But slowly, I've added them little by little. So like adding manifest, then adding service worker. So this is for the server-side rendered web apps, for example. So it still has the features you are used to. Let's say I could install it. Let's try installing it. Okay. It's installing in the background, but it's still what you're used to. Okay, let's wait for it to install. But basically, with newer PWAs, we expect that it has that full functionality. But with these corporate or traditional web apps, we could adjust them slowly instead of rewriting the entire code base. So, okay, let's not wait. Let's try signing in. Let's try signing in. Okay, wait. Okay. This is still PHP. Everything is server-side rendered. And then let's try going offline. Okay. Oh, wait. It's also gone. So basically, I'll try loading this offline. Okay, so you could see. Oops. This would show up. Like, you are offline. Connect to the internet and use this. But you could add additional features. Let's say, with that, right, I logged into a student's account. And when I'm offline, I could add small features. Like, for example, they could still access their ID numbers. So if you have an e-cash solution for your students, you could still display this even when they're offline. So you don't need to go full on offline or to implement all of this. You could just try them little by little.
Hello. Maybe let me rephrase my question. Since you showed examples of e-commerce sites built with a PWA, if you were to compare in terms of architecture, conventional e-commerce sites na conventionally built versus a PDA, what would be faster? Let's say you start from scratch. What would be finished sooner, deployed sooner?
Okay. It depends, but if you already have something built, you could, okay, from scratch, no? Yeah, it still depends on the framework. Okay.
Well, from my experience, when we created the PWA from scratch, the architecture was, I wanted to create, technically it was an accident that I created a PWA because I was intending it to be used as a hybrid mobile app because I created Ionic. It's from Ionic, then I was expecting, we actually already had an Apple developer account, we already had a Google dev account, and it's ready for deployment. But we created a PWA. Now, the architecture, the good thing about the architecture, if you wanted it in native or in hybrid, nakatago yung code. So nobody can look. But with PWAs, anybody can just right-click and see all of the source code in there, and they get to see it. So obfuscation yung gagawin mo. The good thing about Ionic is it already has this, when you build it for production, it already obfuscates your JS. So siguro it could take a lot of time for them to actually recreate the whole JS thing that you created. The architecture that we created is a client-side architecture. So the front end is technically just a client, and we have an API na we were connecting with. For me, it's faster because I can dwell on both sides, but we also have an API specialist who can help me with the API para mas mabilis. So I guess depending on the structure of your company, if you have sabi na nga, may client-side servers, rendering pa rin naman dito. So take note that it's not taking away any of your web development works right now. This is not a new thing. You can just add it bit by bit. So if you have a web app already that has a server and a front end, try adding a PWA spice to it, and it will still work. Pwede pa rin yan. But from scratch, depende siguro kung gaano kagagaling din yung mga devs. But for me, if you focus on a client server side na, mas agnostic na kasi siya eh. Kasi kahit saang API mo ikabit, then pwede. Mas mabilis lang. Like if the API is not yet built, I can mock it up. I can go with my work, and the API guys can do their work as well. So, pag nagkasundo na kami, we get to meet, hook things up, it's ready to go. Ganun lang.
Anything else? No more? Okay. So, yeah, if there are no more questions, I guess that wraps up our meetup for this evening. So hopefully you would join us again in our next meetups. And for additional resources, like this video would be uploaded in our PWA. So if you register through that, you just have to log in and you would get access to all of these resources that we are going to provide in the next few months coming. So thank you for joining us, and God bless.